Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of English Fluency Talks. If you're new here, this is the podcast where we discuss real-life topics, share engaging conversations, and help you improve your English fluency naturally. I'm Emma, your host and English coach.
And I'm Jack, your co-host and fellow language enthusiast. We're so excited to have you join us today for a very important and relatable topic, burnout.
Yes, burnout. Something almost everyone has experienced at some point, whether it's from work, school, family responsibilities, or even trying to do too much at once.
In this episode, we're going to explore what burnout is, how to recognize it, and most importantly, how to deal with it effectively.
That's right. By the end of this episode, you'll have learned practical strategies to combat burnout, useful English phrases and vocabulary to describe it, and you'll even hear examples of conversations that will help you understand the topic more deeply.
And don't forget, we'll be asking you, our amazing listeners, lots of questions throughout. Make sure to share your thoughts, answers, and experiences in the comments. We love hearing from you.
So stay tuned until the end. You don't want to miss the tips, expressions, and stories we have lined up for you today. Burnout is a term we hear a lot these days. But what does it actually mean? Well, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It's not just about being tired. It's a deeper feeling of being completely drained and unable to cope.
Exactly. You might feel like you're running on empty, as if your energy tank is completely dry. It often happens when we try to do too much, or feel stuck in a cycle of never-ending demands.
For example, have you ever felt like you're doing your best, but it's never enough? Or that you're losing motivation for things you used to enjoy?
If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. In fact, burnout has become so common that it's now officially recognized by health organizations as a workplace phenomenon, though it can happen in any area of life.
To give you a clearer picture, let's imagine a conversation between two friends, Sarah and Ben, who are discussing burnout.
Hey Ben, you've been looking a bit off lately. Is everything okay?
Honestly, not really. Work has been so overwhelming. I feel like no matter how much I do, I'm falling behind.
That sounds tough. Do you think you might be burned out?
Maybe. I just feel so tired all the time, even after I sleep. And I don't even enjoy the things I used to love, like playing guitar or hanging out with friends.
It definitely sounds like burnout. I went through something similar last year. It's hard, but the first step is recognizing it.
What did you do to get out of it?
I started by taking small steps, like setting boundaries at work and prioritizing time for myself. It wasn't easy, but it made a big difference.
That sounds great, but I feel guilty even thinking about taking time for myself.
I get that. I used to feel the same. But remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary.
You're right. Maybe I'll try setting some boundaries and see how it goes.
Now, let's take a closer look at some of the phrases Sarah and Ben used in their conversation. These are not only great for understanding burnout, but also useful for your English practice.
First, Ben said, "I feel like no matter how much I do, I'm falling behind." This is a common way to express feeling overwhelmed or unable to keep up with responsibilities.
Next, Sarah mentioned setting boundaries. This means creating limits to protect your time and energy. For example, saying no to tasks you can't handle. Have you ever had to set boundaries?
Sarah also said, "You can't pour from an empty cup." This is a metaphor that means you need to take care of yourself before you can help others. It's a powerful way to emphasize self-care.
What about you, listeners? Can you think of a time when you felt like Ben or had to set boundaries like Sarah? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Let's revisit Sarah and Ben's conversation, but this time we'll slow it down. Listen carefully and try to repeat after us.
Hey Ben, you've been looking a bit off lately. Is everything okay?
Honestly, not really. Work has been so overwhelming. I feel like no matter how much I do, I'm falling behind.
That sounds tough. Do you think you might be burned out?
Maybe. I just feel so tired all the time, even after I sleep. And I don't even enjoy the things I used to love, like playing guitar or hanging out with friends.
It definitely sounds like burnout. I went through something similar last year. It's hard, but the first step is recognizing it.
What did you do to get out of it?
I started by taking small steps, like setting boundaries at work and prioritizing time for myself. It wasn't easy, but it made a big difference.
That sounds great, but I feel guilty even thinking about taking time for myself.
I get that. I used to feel the same. But remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary.
You're right. Maybe I'll try setting some boundaries and see how it goes.
Practice saying these phrases out loud and try using them in your own conversations. The more you use them, the more natural they'll feel. Now, let's dive deeper into how to deal with burnout. Jack, what's your go-to strategy?
For me, it's all about unplugging. I make it a rule to turn off work emails after 7 p.m. and take breaks from social media. It helps me reset mentally.
That's such a good tip. I'm a big fan of mindfulness. Taking a few minutes each day to meditate, or even just breathe deeply, can do wonders for your mental health.
And exercise. Even a 10-minute walk can boost your energy and mood. It's amazing how much movement helps when you're feeling stuck.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the importance of saying no. Overcommitting is one of the biggest causes of burnout.
Totally agree. Listeners, have you ever said no to something to protect your time? How did it feel? Let us know in the comments.
Jack, have you ever experienced burnout?
Oh, definitely. A few years ago, I was juggling multiple jobs and studying part-time. I thought I could handle it, but I ended up feeling exhausted and unmotivated.
What did you do to recover?
I started small. I made sure to get enough sleep, cut back on my workload, and spent more time doing things I enjoyed, like cooking and reading.
That's so relatable. I've had similar experiences. For me, learning to ask for help was a game changer. It's amazing how much support you can get when you open up to others.
Listeners, we'd love to hear your stories. Have you ever been burned out? What helped you recover? Share your tips in the comments. We'll feature some in our next episode.
You seem a bit off lately. Everything okay?
Honestly, Lisa, I've been feeling completely drained. It's like I can't focus on anything. And even things I used to enjoy feel like a chore.
That sounds tough. Do you think you're experiencing burnout? It's more common than we realize, especially with how demanding life is these days.
Burnout? Yeah, maybe. I've heard of it, but I always thought it only happens to people who are super overworked. I mean, I've got a lot going on. But it feels deeper than just being tired.
You'd be surprised. Burnout isn't just about work. It can come from anything. Stress at home, juggling too many responsibilities, or even emotional overload.
Makes sense. So, how do I even know if it's burnout? Is there a checklist or something?
Well, there are common signs. For example, do you feel constantly exhausted, even after resting?
Yes, exactly. I wake up tired, even if I sleep for 8 hours. It's frustrating.
What about motivation? Do you feel like you've lost interest in things that used to excite you?
Totally. I used to love my morning runs. But now I can't even drag myself out of bed.
And how's your mood? Are you feeling more irritable? Or just, emotionally numb?
I'd say both. Some days I snap at people for no reason. Other days I just don't care about anything.
That really does sound like burnout. But don't worry. You're not alone, and there are ways to deal with it.
Really? Because I honestly don't even know where to start. I feel like I'm stuck in a loop.
First, you need to acknowledge it, which you've already done. That's a huge step. Next, try to identify what's causing it. Is it work-related or is it more personal?
Mariwa, it's a mix, I think. Work is hectic and I feel like I never have time for myself. Plus, I've been trying to help out a lot with family stuff and it's overwhelming.
I get that. You're carrying a lot on your shoulders. Have you tried setting boundaries? Sometimes just saying no can make a world of difference.
Easier said than done, right? I feel guilty when I say no to people.
Oh, I get that too. But think about it. If you're burned out, you're not able to give your best to anyone, including yourself. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary.
You've got a point. So, boundaries are one thing. What else?
Self-care. And I don't just mean bubble baths and spa days, although those are great. I mean doing things that recharge you. Like taking time to read, meditate, or just unplug from technology for a while.
Unplugging sounds nice. I've been glued to my phone lately, even when I'm not working.
That's so common. Social media can be exhausting, especially when we compare ourselves to others. Maybe try a digital detox for a day or two?
I could try. I've heard about it, but it seems hard. What if I miss something important?
Trust me, the world will survive without you for a day. Plus, you'll feel so refreshed. It's like hitting a reset button.
All right, I'll give it a shot. What about work, though? I can't just stop going, even if it's one of the main causes of my burnout.
True, but you can try to make it more manageable. Maybe talk to your boss about your workload. A lot of managers are more understanding than we think.
I guess I could bring it up. But what if they don't take me seriously?
That's possible, but at least you'll have tried. Sometimes even small adjustments like delegating tasks or taking more breaks can help.
Breaks. Yeah, I'm terrible at taking breaks. I feel guilty even stepping away from my desk for 5 minutes.
You need to change that mindset. Breaks aren't slacking off, they're recharging. Think of it like this. You wouldn't let your phone battery hit 0, right?
True. And what about long-term solutions? I want to feel better, not just survive.
Great question. Long-term, focus on balance. That means making time for things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Maybe pick up a hobby or reconnect with friends.
I used to love painting, but I haven't touched a brush in years. Maybe I should try it again.
Absolutely. Creative outlets can be so therapeutic. And don't forget about your health. Exercise, eat well, and get enough sleep. They all play a role in how you feel.
Okay, so boundaries, self-care, unplugging, balancing work, and reconnecting with hobbies. That's a lot to work on, but it sounds doable.
It is. And remember, progress takes time. Be patient with yourself.
Thanks, Lisa. This conversation really helped. I feel like I have a plan now.
Anytime, James. And remember, I'm here if you need to vent or brainstorm more ideas. You've got this.
Thanks. I feel like I can finally start turning things around. You know, Lisa, one thing I've been wondering, how do you know when you're fully recovered from burnout? Like, how do you measure that?
That's a great question. I think recovery from burnout isn't about going back to how things were before. It's about finding a healthier way to live and work so you don't fall into the same pattern again.
So it's more about creating sustainable habits?
Exactly. Think of it as a lifestyle shift, not just a quick fix. For example, if you start setting boundaries and practicing self-care, those habits will help you stay balanced even when life gets busy.
Makes sense. It's funny. Though, I think part of me feels like if I'm not busy all the time, I'm not being productive.
Oh, that's such a common feeling. We've been conditioned to equate busyness with success. But let me ask you this. What's the point of being super productive if it comes at the cost of your health and happiness?
Yeah, I guess you're right. But it's hard to shake that mindset.
It is. That's why it's important to redefine what productivity means to you. Sometimes being productive means taking a nap or spending time with loved ones. It's about doing what truly matters, not just ticking things off a to-do list.
That's a fresh perspective. I like that. So, what do you do when you feel burnout creeping in?
For me, the first step is awareness. I try to catch it early, like when I start feeling more tired than usual, or I lose patience quickly. Then I take a step back and reassess. What about you? Do you notice any early warning signs?
Now that you mention it, I do. Like, I start procrastinating a lot. Instead of doing my work, I'll scroll endlessly on my phone or watch random YouTube videos.
That's actually a big sign for many people. It's like your brain is telling you, I need a break, but you're ignoring it.
Yeah, I guess so. And then I feel guilty for wasting time, which makes everything worse.
That's the vicious cycle. The key is to listen to those signals without guilt. If you need a break, take it. But make it intentional, like a walk outside, or even just sitting quietly for a few minutes.
Intentional breaks. I like that idea. I'll try it. What about you? Do you have a go-to activity when you're feeling burned out?
Definitely, I love journaling. It helps me sort through my thoughts and figure out what's really bothering me. Sometimes just writing it all down feels like a weight off my shoulders.
That's cool. I've never really tried journaling. What do you write about?
Anything and everything. Sometimes I write about what's stressing me out. Other times, I make a gratitude list to remind myself of the good things in my life. It's really flexible. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
I might give that a shot. Maybe I'll start small, like writing one sentence a day.
That's a great start. The trick is to keep it simple and consistent. And who knows? You might end up enjoying it.
You're really good at this, Lisa. I feel like I've just had a mini therapy session.
Well, I've been through burnout myself, so I get it. And honestly, just talking about it helps. It's important to remind ourselves that we're not alone.
That's true. Speaking of which, do you think therapy would help? I've been considering it, but haven't taken the plunge.
Absolutely. Therapy can be a game changer. A therapist can help you dig deeper into what's causing your burnout and teach you coping strategies. Plus, it's nice to have a safe space to talk things out.
I think I'll look into it. Do you have any tips for finding the right therapist?
Sure. Start by asking for recommendations or searching online for therapists who specialize in stress or burnout. And don't be afraid to try a few sessions with different people until you find someone you connect with.
That's good advice. Thanks, Lisa. I feel like I have so many tools now. Therapy, journaling, boundaries, self-care. Where do I even start?
Start small. Pick one thing that feels doable and build from there. For example, maybe start with journaling or taking a short daily walk. The key is to create momentum without overwhelming yourself.
Got it. One step at a time. You know, I already feel a little better just talking about all this.
I'm so glad to hear that. Remember, burnout isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you've been strong for too long. Take this as an opportunity to care for yourself.
Thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen and share all these tips.
Anytime, James. You're going to get through this. I know it. And hey, let's celebrate your progress over another coffee next week.
You know what, Lisa? This whole conversation has been like a reset button for me. I feel lighter somehow, like I finally have a direction.
That's great to hear, James. But remember, it's okay if it takes time to feel completely better. Progress isn't always linear, and there will be good days and tough ones. Be kind to yourself during the process.
I'll try to keep that in mind. Oh, before I forget, what about when you're surrounded by people who don't understand burnout? Like they just tell you to push through or work harder.
I've definitely faced that. It's tough when people don't get it, but here's what I've learned. You don't need to convince everyone. Instead, focus on setting boundaries and protecting your energy. And if you need support, lean on people who do understand, like me.
Thanks, Lisa. I'll try not to take the unsupportive comments too personally. Maybe they just don't realize how serious burnout can be.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe by taking care of yourself, you'll inspire others to rethink how they handle stress, too.
Never thought of it that way. So, like, being a role model for self-care?
Yeah. Think of it as leading by example. If people see you prioritizing balance and still being productive, it might encourage them to do the same.
That's an interesting perspective. I'd love to be that kind of influence, but I still have a lot of work to do on myself first.
And that's perfectly fine. Self-improvement is a journey, not a race. Every small step counts.
Speaking of steps, I'm going to start with that daily walk idea you mentioned earlier. It's simple, and I could use the fresh air.
That's a fantastic choice. Walking is such a great way to clear your mind and get a little exercise. Plus, if you walk in a park or near trees, it can be really calming.
Yeah, there's a nice park near my place. I think I'll make it part of my morning routine.
Perfect. Morning walks are a great way to start the day on a positive note. Just don't forget to leave your phone behind, or at least put it on silent. You'll want to enjoy the moment without distractions.
Good point. It's so easy to get sucked into emails or social media, even during a break.
Exactly. Disconnecting is key. Oh, and if you're into it, you could even try some mindfulness exercises while you walk. Just focus on your breath or the sound of your footsteps.
That sounds peaceful. I'll give it a shot. It's funny, I thought dealing with burnout would feel overwhelming. But now I feel like I have manageable steps to take.
I'm so glad to hear that, James. Just remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Take it one day at a time and celebrate the small wins along the way.
Will do. Thanks again, Lisa. You've given me so much to think about and actually act on.
Anytime. And hey, if you ever feel stuck or need someone to talk to, you know where to find me.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. Oh, and next time we meet, the coffee's on me.
Deal. Let's make it a check-in session so you can tell me how the walks and journaling are going.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Lisa. I mean it.
You're welcome, James. Take care of yourself, okay? You've got this. Well, that's all for today's episode, folks. We hope you've learned something valuable and feel more equipped to deal with burnout.
Remember, burnout is something many of us go through. But with the right strategies, you can overcome it and come back stronger.
If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a comment. We love hearing from you.
Also, check out our latest episodes on managing stress and self-care. They're packed with tips and useful expressions just like today's episode.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Stay positive, stay strong, and we'll see you next time on English Fluency Talks.
Bye for now.